morning, everybody. How are you? The devilishly handsome Ian Dixon. Good morning, sir.
Shut up, for fuck's sake. Jesus.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show, Wise Up, Rise Up show. This Wise Up Wednesday with me, a makeupless, intentionally makeupless. I am sick of putting my face on at this point in the year now, but bringing a little bit of festivities to the situation. Got a Santa hat on. I've got my incredibly warm, and it is properly needed, Diary of a CEO sweatshirt on from the last drop, and I love it. And on the back, let me show you. Can you see? Well, you might not. It says failure, and the story behind it is that in order to be successful, there has to be failure involved in your trajectory. There's got to be getting things wrong on the path to getting things right. Otherwise, you're not going to know how to get better if you're not on a journey of continual improvement. Then you're not on a journey of continual improvement. You're just going to stay the same. So if you're not looking at the things that you do within life, within business, and seeing where the gaps are, seeing where you're failing, then you can't improve. You can't move yourself forward. And it really spoke to me when he did that, the merch drop, which we're going to be doing a bit more of in the new year. Lots of things that we're working on in the background. So Monday, we missed out Monday's show because I should have told you, because I did say on Friday, after that epic live that I did on Friday, where I was sharing a little bit vulnerably about my experiences, about sort of reconnecting to myself, looking at myself, peeling back some of the layers, all of that sort of stuff. I did say I'd see you on Monday for more Showing Up, Wising Up and Rising Up. However, it was my team strategy day. So I had all my team, or as many of my team as I could get, up here in the north for us to talk about 2023 into 2024. Can you believe the things that we're going to be sharing with you, the things that I'm going to be doing? How do we protect me better next year so that I don't limp in at the finish line? And we made some decisions around sort of closing out this year. And lots of people in the online space particularly are like, yeah, finish this year strong, like run to the end. People are still buying, go, go, go. And then there's this other, and I feel it, I'm a part of it, this sort of wave of movement around, we're tired. As a collective, as a wider community, we're tired. 2023 has been like an atom bomb of movement after 2.5 years of struggle and fear and pandemic and illness and losing people and loss and grieving. And then 2022 came along and was like, well, let's turn the volume up on everything all at once, catch up with everything, pick things back up again, run like he was running before, like there was no trauma, like there was nothing that happened, like everything's okay again, so everything's okay again. And I feel like that has been a little bit of papering over the cracks for a lot of people, that yes, there's been a need to sort of pick up and run, but on the flip side, that to go from this sort of closed down, lockdown, fearful situation to then move into 2022 with lots of different types of fear happening. So war, cost of living crisis, the energy crisis, the Queen passing, like all of these like things, these are just popping off all the time. And no one has given us permission to just take a fucking hot minute. Like, let's take a second and let's breathe. And the last 2 weeks have served to bring me to the realization that that's exactly what I need to do. That's exactly what needs to happen. It's what my kids need. Like, my kids are getting sick. They're poorly. They're limping in at the finish line. They're getting towards Christmas, and I've got them off today. They're not well. And I'm not feeling on all cylinders. I'm not feeling like I'm running on all cylinders like I would like to be doing. And so the conscious decision has been made on from my side of things is to ease out of this year, is to turn the volume down on everything, is to allow myself to breathe. And even just in giving myself that permission to see this year out gently, softly, sweetly, quietly, as already, I mean, don't get me wrong, the bit of me that is neurodivergent means that if I give myself that space, then all of the ideas are going to happen and it's all going to get crazy. And that's just what happens. But the very fact that I've given myself, Sarah, we've got Sarah Park on the show this morning. And we're going to be talking about disability and accessibility within business. And one of the things that I experience in life is neurodivergence. I am neurodivergent. I have ADHD. And that manifests itself brilliantly in lots of different ways, and it manifests itself exhaustingly in lots of different ways. I mean, particularly for my husband, who has to keep up with my million one ideas, who has to remember what I need to remember in order for me to remember it because I don't. Example of this was yesterday. We went to Ivy's nativity in the morning, and I said to him, "Please, can we go to the shop? I need to get a thing." And he was like, "Yeah, no worries." And we're on the way to the shop to get this thing. And I say to him, "What's the thing that we're getting again?" "Oh, we're getting like a hairdryer." "We're getting a hairdryer." "Oh, brilliant. Cool. I need a hairdryer. Fantastic." So I went to the shop that I told him that that's what we were going to do. And I was like, "Oh, damn it. I need some cling film." I got a tattoo later yesterday. And I need some cling film. Damn it, I forgot it at the shop. We'd already been to like Morrison's to go and get food in. So we'd come out. So we'd left Morrison's. Damn it, forgot cling film. He said, "It's okay, we'll stop at the Tesco." We're coming down towards Tesco. "Don't forget we need to go to the Tesco." He's like, I know, like you told me, but I'd been between the Morrisons and the Tesco. I'd forgotten that that's what I'd asked him to do. And when I'm tired like that, more of this happens. The less rested I am, the more scatty my brain becomes. And this happens for everybody, not just people who've got neurodivergence. Like the like normally, if you're tired, your brain doesn't function as well as what it should do. And I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. And so we're winding things down. What does winding things down look like? So where I can avoid travel, I'm going to be avoiding travel. Where I can rearrange meetings that aren't like imminently important or pivotal, then I'm going to be rearranging meetings. Of course, I'm going to be still coaching my clients because I can't wait to speak to all of them. But really taking into consideration what my needs are right now and trying to rearrange accordingly. It's only 3 days before we stop, but actually just cutting myself a little bit of slack even in those 3 days. So, what are you guys doing? Are you seeing this year out with a bang? Are you gently seeing out this year? I just kind of I want to slow myself down a little bit and I want to start to edge those brakes on now instead of getting to the end of the weekend and then slamming the brakes on and then it's taking me until Christmas Day to wind down and then I'm worrying about coming back to work. I want to start that process now. Anyway, so today is Wise Up Wednesday, and on a Wednesday, I love having guests on from lots of different areas and walks of life. And our guest this morning has been a regular on the show. She's been on the show a couple of times. She spoke at Be Inspired, absolutely nailed it back in March. She's been a lovely, lovely, darling friend since we started working together, which is just over a year ago now. But to talk to us specifically around disability accessibility this morning, the disability diva herself, Sarah Park. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, Sugar Bum?
Brilliant. Yeah, I can't believe it's been a year. It's just
Can
crazy,
you?
isn't
A little more than a year. So we're at this point in the delivery of Be Heard where today is the end of Be Heard. So we've been delivering this for 2 months now. So it's just a little over a year. And what a journey you've been on in
Yeah,
that time, Mrs.
it's amazing. And obviously listening to what you're saying about how you're sort of slowing down and stuff like that. I am, but in the fact that I know from January, I've already planned out my year. I
You've
know
done a
what I'm
lot of it
doing
already.
when. And it's like I've got the book launch, the collaboration in January,
Mhm.
and I'm starting my membership in February, and it's just all kind of happening for me. But I'm trying to slow down a little bit now and
It's
just
easy.
kind
You've
of,
had that kind of run up, and preparation is pivotal to success, right? So you doing all of this prep is allowing you now to just put like part the tire for a little minute, take a little second, and then you know where you're going as soon as the year kicks off, right?
yeah, hopefully.
Fingers crossed, all
Fingers
going well, God willing.
and that's the thing, and actually going into the new year, I've got a lot more focus on disability inclusion,
Yeah,
raising the awareness around that, because currently we're in UK Disability History Month,
yeah,
which for me personally is a rubbish time to have it, and because everyone's focusing on Christmas and stuff
uh-huh,
like that. So one of the things that is definitely going to be my mission next year is to talk about it more
mhm.
throughout the year, to actually do things throughout the year.
Yeah. And one of the things that, we've been considering as a wider team, as a community, is that the awareness days are great and the fab for PR exercises in the wider world. But actually, if the things that you are sort of celebrating, or maybe not celebrating, but being a part of in terms of raising awareness of, consistency through the year is one of the important things, isn't it? Is that the awareness days should start conversations, but those conversations should then move into regular and consistent action where possible. And that's, you and I have been working together a little bit on some of those things. We've been working more broadly on the inclusivity conversation within IATQB, within the community, within the hive, within Be Inspired. But these awareness months, awareness weeks, awareness days are designed to spark conversation. And once we've had that conversation, it's not good enough then to shut the fuck up and go about your lives as if nothing ever happened, or you weren't made aware of something. Oh, I'm aware of that now. Great. Now what?
Yeah.
So I'm very, very lucky to have you as a friend and as a part of this community, because you've been able to really shed light where I have just not had to think. In my privilege, I've just not had to think about certain things. As an event producer, things like stage height, ramps, accessibility through lifts, height of tables when food is being served, breakout areas, sensory areas, all of these sorts of things are, as I'm learning more with you, that we're able to implement more as a community. And for those of you that are coming along to Be Inspired, and I hope loads of you are, regardless of whether you have a disability or not, you will notice the next time you come, if you've been before, that there have been active steps that we've taken to implement change to make things more accessible. So talk us through, as business owners, Sarah, because the majority of my audience they're entrepreneurs, they're business owners, they're dipping the toe in terms of personal development. For the most part, they're business owners. Why is it so important to be a part of this conversation? I'm saying this like it's fucking obvious, but let's have the conversation.
Well, there's so many factors. Obviously, in not being inclusive, you are excluding
Mm-hmm.
people from your services.
Yeah.
So obviously you're losing money
Yeah.
through not being inclusive to us. And that goes for all kind of marginalized communities, in
Mm-hmm.
that if you're not being inclusive for them,
Yeah.
um, you know, so many people uh, lose um, lose out on because of that
Yeah.
reason. And it's like, even down to a website, if that's not accessible for somebody, they're more likely to go somewhere else, even if it's more expensive,
Yeah.
if they've got uh like the inclusivity right.
Yeah.
um I get distracted by the comments.
It's all right. I've got it. So we've got some lovely commenters, and good morning to everybody that's watching along with us live. And if you are watching on the replay, please do pop comments in as well, because we do check in with the comments. Louisa Herridge, good morning, Lulu. I agree. Working with Sarah and Paula has allowed me to rethink accessibility too. When I held my event in Manchester, I sourced venues with totally different approaches in the past. I hadn't been inclusive. Sometimes we just don't think about it because it might be outside of who we've had connection to within our social circle, or people with hidden disabilities, chronic disabilities will often either mask or just put up with, which is, not right, or just put up with the fact that their needs just won't be catered to in this particular situation. And then they make a choice whether to go and get amongst it or not. And the onus is on that person as opposed to the producer or the event organizer to think a little bit more broadly about it. And I think that there needs to be, this coming together of the community so that we, as in my case, an able-bodied person, can understand more and then provide more. And then for you as somebody who is disabled and physically like you're physically disabled, so you have a wheelchair, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to things like that you're able to provide information and education around how, and then you then have, so it works for everybody. You have an opportunity then to make a difference, but also access the events that you want to access, and the producers get to provide that for it. It needs to be a conversation in order to make that happen,
and
instead of
actually,
assumptions.
yeah, and one of the simplest ways, and the one thing that's most frustrating for me is when people don't share information about what they do.
Yeah.
So I've had conversations with people who say, "Oh, well, we've got disabled access, but we never get people in." That's because, unfortunately, as a disabled person, I've got used to it not being there.
Yeah.
So actually, if you are inclusive, if you have got access, shout about it, put it on the website, put a section saying we can cater for X, Y, and Z, and that actually, if you do need more information, please do call. That's a really simple, straightforward, inclusive practice.
And make that like you say, shout about it, not for virtue signaling, but so people like yourself can find that readily available information, easy to access information, so that you can make a buying decision. Brilliant. They can cater to the fact that I have a wheelchair. They can cater to the fact that I might have sensory issues. They can cater to the fact that I use British Sign Language, or I might need an induction loop or something like that, or they offer Braille, or they offer subtitling, or if you can be really clear about that, really clear about it, not just writing it somewhere in the corner of your website, but actually putting it to the front, so people who have additional needs, additional requirements and disabilities don't have to go digging around for it. Make it easy to see, and then that person can make a buying decision. And so how good is that for everybody? That's not like, that is such a good thing to do. Like, that's not a shit thing to do.
and that's actually the thing, isn't it? Is that a lot of changes that can be made aren't just going to assist the disabled person who you're feeling sorry for. It's going to be for the wider community and a much more diverse, interesting society.
Richer community in all of the ways, because I mean, having you on our stage has opened up so many more opportunities for both us, for you, and also for the wider disabled community to come forward and go, is be inspired somewhere that I can be and feel safe. Well, we'd like to think that that's what we're working towards. We're not at utopia yet. I don't think we ever will be, but making sure that we're aware with eyes open and doing that work is really, really important. So hang on one second. Came over here. We've got a big one. Hang on a minute. Let's have a look. I'm peeping over. Came over here so that you can see my comment. Good morning, Queens. Disability and neurodiversity is a huge part of our world. It's so amazing that it is being brought to the forefront. I worked over a decade doing events and spent so many hours taking wheelchair users around the restricted areas because the actual areas for them weren't accessible because of mud or crowds, etc. Yes, 100%. What else have we got? Inclusion is becoming a louder conversation in society in all different spaces. And the more work we put in and time we give, the healthier the environment for everyone. It's all about growth for our businesses and seeing what moves we can make for the better. Absolutely. What say you, Sarah? Fucking yes.
Yes. Exactly. And this is the thing, isn't it? And that is, I think people get scared because they, once you go down that road, people feel like they've got to have it 100% correct.
Yeah.
And it's that there's no room for error. But one of the things that I said to you about Manchester United and stuff like that, you as the person organizing the event only has so much control over what they do.
Yeah.
So things like the high tables and stuff like that, that's actually more down on them than it was on you, for
To give that
example.
consideration.
Exactly.
I get that, and I think you're really gracious in saying that. But actually, the more that I reflect on it, because no one likes to do this. I like to sit uncomfortably with the things that I don't get right. Just sit with them for as long as it takes for me to be able to understand, okay, which bit is my responsibility, which bit isn't my responsibility. And actually, had I given consideration to what the room layout was going to be, I should have made stipulations on the top end. Now, in my team size, so we're a team of 5 trying to level up this massive thing all in one go, I didn't think about, okay, so what height is the buffet going to be served at? However, now that we have moved into there and we know that that is something that isn't right, we then get to ask the questions. So we didn't get it right last time. So we thought, okay, it's accessible because it's Man United. It's got to be. There's lifts and stuff.
Exactly.
And the stage isn't so high. So it's easier for us to get a ramp up to the stage, for example. You know, there's accessible toilets, la, 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 la. But actually, when you choose a venue, you've got to really think about those things. And for anybody that is moving into event organizing next year, and as the world is opening more back up now, we're going to see lots more in real life connective events. Give these things consideration because you will infinitely reap the benefits of having more people from different backgrounds there. So what sort of considerations do businesses need to take when it comes to inclusion, specifically in the realms of disabilities, Sarah?
Okay, so as I've already mentioned, it's sometimes as simple as sharing the information, because people aren't always comfortable at ringing up, and
Yeah.
so unfortunately, there's been times where I've made assumptions that something's not accessible, and that's actually kind of a key turning point for me. And what I speak about in the chapter that I've written is around you get told no so often that actually you
You
start
assume
believing
no.
it. Exactly. And one of the changes in the experience that I had, obviously through the Be Inspired process, was actually it wasn't about my disability. The only thing that would have stopped me from doing it was actually myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that in itself, it's just about how you treating other people. It's
Yeah.
people get scared. They think, oh my God, I've got to get a lift. I've got to do ramps. I've got to do disabled toilets. And yes, all of that would be nice. But actually, sometimes it's about your customer service. It's about being inclusive in your language. It's
Yeah.
about letting people know what you stand for more,
Mm-hmm.
and not just thinking that we know that they're accessible.
Yeah.
Because often
Because it should be the decent thing to do. It isn't the norm yet. It's
no,
not. it isn't the industry standard yet across businesses that they are accessible in as many ways as they possibly can be accessible. And I think that's another thing. There's an interesting conversation that's happened just this week. I think it was even yesterday that a bill got passed with regards to flexible working, where you can request flexible working from day one of your employment instead of a few weeks in. So you can actually discuss at point of employment, here are some reasonable adjustments that I need in order for me to do my job. And that isn't just around parenting.
No.
This could be around ability to concentrate. This could be around preferred working hours with regards to productivity. This could be around hospital appointments so that you are able to get the care that you need in order to do the work that you need to do. This could be with regards to fluorescent lighting, for example, if you are sensitive to fluorescent lighting. So flexible working requests we are now able to put them in and submit them from day one of employment instead of waiting uncomfortably for months and months just for the sake of you having a job. And I think that that's an inroad. How do you think that's going to translate into wider business? I have concerns.
I think it's a step forward.
Yeah.
My concern would be, would people not get the job for those reasons?
Yeah.
Because I know from my own experiences of employment that I haven't had a job offered to me or even got an interview because I've put that I've got a disability. And you know, that some of that is hearsay, some of that's me just making assumptions, but I've actually had someone turn around to me and say that. You know, it's not that I'm just making that one up.
Mhm.
They soon backtracked when they realised what they'd said.
I think wider statistics will speak for that
Yeah,
as well. If if we were to serve
exactly.
a whole bunch of statistics up, and apologies for me not having done the research in order to bring
Yeah,
that to the conversation, but I have zero doubt in my mind that if we were to go and pull those statistics up in terms of, statement of disability versus employment within a role,
yeah,
I think that they would speak very, very clearly. And I
definitely. And
think that
actually, one of the other differences that I've because I did do some research on facts and stuff. Disabled women are even more so not likely to be in employment.
right.
So, you know, disabled people in general, the uptake of employment is lower.
Hmm.
But if you're a disabled woman, it's even lower.
Hmm.
And like in terms of just the stats that you don't really want to be talking about, like the kind of sexual abuse and stuff like that.
Yeah.
As a disabled woman, that also increases the chances of, and that's the thing. And it's like we need to be talking about this and
Yes.
actually having these conversations because you know people don't have them, so they don't know. They don't
Right.
know what's happening.
Absolutely. And then it becomes fearful, but we become fearful of it. We don't want to have the conversation because we don't want to offend anybody, or we don't want to have the conversation because we don't want to have to take action because we're lazy fucks, or we think it's going to be expensive, or if we start to talk about it, then we're going to have to do something, and then God, that's long. And so there has to be, and I'm speaking to all of you that catch up on the show that have to have this as a consideration within your business. You need to give this consideration. We had Alex Lynham come in to talk about the inclusion from a gender perspective, from an LGBTQ plus perspective. We need to think about all of our marginalized communities because we need to get richer together for all the reasons. And it's going to take a push on ally side as well as from people who are experiencing these situations to come together. It's not about going around and hitting everybody with a stick, or you're not doing that and you're not doing that. It's about, here's what's going on. How can we make it better for everybody? And that's what I love about this community, is that we get to have these conversations, that we get to have friends like you, we get to have friends like Heidi Maver, we get to have friends like Alex Lynham, and we get to have friends from wider experiences as well. And we get to have allies that come across that are open to the conversation, the likes of Fidel Bohill, for example. We've got some fantastic people in this community that are really moving the needle. So go on, what I didn't want to, you were going to say something.
One of the key features of next year for me is workshops. So I will be running many more online workshops. And actually, Alex is going to be involved in supporting me with that as well.
Perfect.
So yeah, look out for those. And again, they will be on things like the disability inclusion topics to kind of hopefully support people to be more inclusive.
I love that. And tell us about the book.
So yeah, there are 10 people in the collaboration. They're all around stories of rising from the ashes, basically.
So give us a little background on the book. So this is a collaboration that's headed up by our very own Louisa Herridge, correct?
Yes, that's the one.
Tell us about it.
So it's a group of women, each have their own chapter. The main kind of discussion points are kind of that point where you know that kind of time where you have enough and you know that you need to change, and going through the traumas of life, etc. And so for me, I talk very much around that process of like getting a divorce and losing my mum, and you and Jojo both feature in my chapter.
Thank you.
And so it's about where you've got to and what your future plans are and stuff like that, basically.
I love that. And when is the book out?
January the 25th.
The later part of January, and we will be shouting about it. You guys will know about it when this book comes out. It's a series that Louisa creates, and the stories in there are absolutely phenomenal.
And apparently there's already a volume 3 for people if they want to join.
Love that. I love that. So Sarah, how do people work with you? Because you work as a consultant, you work as a support. Like, how do people work with you?
So obviously, like I say, one of the main things I'll be doing is doing the workshops, and that will be aimed at raising awareness around disability, inclusion, etc. But I can come out to places, so if they're local enough to me, or I can get onto a Zoom and talk to you and give you some advice, etc. And so it's just kind of basically getting those conversations started. I'm working with a charity in the new year, local charity, and going to be doing their disability awareness training throughout the year. So I can do that sort of thing as well. So I'm kind of doing it on a quarterly basis for them. So if that's something people are interested in, then it can be a regular for that sort of stuff. And then obviously from the supporting the disabled person perspective, I will continue to offer the one-to-one services that I'm offering, with the main kind of, I suppose, emphasis on sort of digital technology and kind of supporting their everyday lives to improve their lives through the use of technology, etc. But I'm also, as I said to you, launching my membership for women with disabilities in February as well, where that's going to be a membership for supporting, making education and resource sharing and all of those lovely things in one
Amazing.
particular area.
Fantastic. So lots of things in the pipeline for you. We're so proud of you. The whole community is so proud of you. Thank you so much for everything that you do, my angel. Thank you for coming on to chat this morning, specifically around Disability Month. But this is something that we need to be aware of all year round, and definitely some work that we are doing more intentionally as a community and as an event producer on my part as well. So Sarah, thank you for all of the work that you do.
Right, thank you.
So that was the glorious Disability Diva, Sarah Park. You can find her if you just search her, Sarah Park, and I'm no doubt if you can put some links in the comments, that would be amazing. So some of the changes that we've made as part of this ongoing conversation around inclusion, disability inclusion is in this particular aspect where Be Inspired is concerned, is that we have a care team on site during Be Inspired for lots of reasons. So we'll have sort of accessibility team helping signpost, helping get people where they need to be. If people have mobility issues, making sure that that's really well signposted, making sure that when you're queuing coming in, that we've got chairs that people can sit in. We'll be fast tracking people who've got mobility issues to the front of the queue. Just as an example of some of the things that we needed to consider that we didn't do last time, the buffet table, for example, was served too high, so we'll be lowering that. We have our own breakout sensory room where people can go and take a quiet minute if they need to decompress, and that's going to be sponsored by the gorgeous squad at Sensory, who are going to be providing us with equipment in their beanbags, chill out area, really, really quiet space to go and chill. And we've also got a mental health care team as well for people who need it. So lots of things that we've been doing to consider how to become even more accessible. And even next time, there will be feedback that we will invite. It is the breakfast of champions, and we are hungry to make it even better for when we go again later on next year. So I want to know, what are you guys doing? What are you all doing to be more inclusive? Oh, another fantastic addition to Be Inspired this time is we will have a BSL interpreter who's absolutely fabulous as well. So if you do have any members of deaf community within your communities, please do let them know that we will have a BSL interpreter at the event as well. Right, my loves, I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week. Like I say, I'm turning the dial down, turning the volume down. I'm still going to be here. I'm still going to be present. I know that me turning the volume down still looks like I'm still super, super visible because of the way that I've got things set up. But even if it means just turning everything off for you, make sure you do take some time for you. Take some time to breathe. Let's see this year out gently, softly, sweetly, and together. I'll see you on Friday for more Showing Up Wise.